Hello and welcome to the new plant series for 2021. My name is Jessica. I work at the Verona location of K&A Greenhouse. Today we'll be going over the new shade trees for 2021. The first one that we'll be getting in this year, which we actually had a couple years ago, but I haven't been able to get for a few years, is London plane tree, also called Sycamore. The variety name is Exclamation. This one has a pyramidal growth habit. So if you have a lot of issues with the Japanese beetles in the summer, with them just decimating the leaves of your tree, this is a good option to plant instead of that one because they don't have as many issues with the Japanese beetles, but they still have that same pyramidal the growth habit. And this one is a moderate growth rate. So once it gets established after 3-4 years, you'll start to see it filling in pretty quickly for you. And the one thing that's really unique about this tree is you can see on the right hand side of the screen the different modeling. It's a blend of tan and gray, and then a darker brown modeling, and each tree is different. The best thing for light for this tree is full sun. It will tolerate a little bit of partial shade, but at least 4 hours, if not more. 6 hours or more is best for this one. Eventually, it will get to be 50 to 60 feet tall and 40 to 45 feet wide at maturity. And hardiness zone is a zone 5, but I've known this tree to be growing in zone 4 locations too. So my assumption is it actually is technically a zone 4, um, but right now the industry recognizes it as a zone 5 tree. Another one is the black Tupelo or sour gum tree. This picture here shows the fall color, so it's a really brilliant, it's kind of like a purplish maroon color, and it's just gorgeous when it changes over in October. Otherwise, it will have very glossy green leaves all spring and summer long. This one, actually, there's a really nice specimen by the UW Arboretum, kind of right by their visitor center, which is pretty obvious in fall because it looks just like this tree. Hardiness zone on this one is a 3, so it is very hardy for us here in Wisconsin. Again, it has a pyramidal growth habit, so you can see that from the photo as well. 30 to 50 feet tall and 20 to 30 feet wide. The broad range in this is just depending on the soil types. It will tolerate all soil types, but prefers sandy soil, so it'll get a little bit taller in sandier soils and will be a little bit shorter in the heavy clay soils that we have here in the Madison area. Full sun is best if you want this really nice fall color, though it will handle partial shade. It just won't be quite as bright if you put it in more of a partial shade location. We're getting in 2 horse chestnuts this year, and last year we actually had 3 of these, the Briati types, but they sold out fairly quickly. So this year we're getting in more of the Briati. You can see on the left-hand side that is the nut, so it is almost painful if you walk on it. Like with walnuts, they don't have the spikes on it. Horse chestnut will actually have kind of a spiky outer edge, and then the nut on the inside that the squirrels will just the squirrels will dig these in, and then you'll have little horse chestnut trees coming up every spring. The Briati variety gets 25 to 35 feet tall, approximately the same width. You can kind of see in the right hand picture the leaves on it is palmate, which means that it has a very large leaf on it, very big structure. And then the flowers tend to bloom typically a little bit later in spring than some of the other flowering trees. This one has the large pink flower spikes, which is a little bit different than some of the other ones. The growing habit on this one, it has an oval growing shape, so it has kind of the same as like a sugar maple tree if you're familiar with that growing habit. Hardiness zone for this one is a zone 4. And then we have the autumn splendor, which is technically a red horse chestnut. This one has the yellow flower spikes instead of the pink. Same palmate leaves on it. The claim to fame with this one is just that it's like a reddish maroon fall color, kind of like the black tupelo tree. This one has the oval growing habit again. The flowers bloom in late spring, just like the Briati. This one is 30 to 35 feet tall and 20 to 25 feet wide at maturity. And the hardiness zone on this one is a little bit hardier. It's a zone 3 instead of a zone 4. We have a bunch of new oaks coming in this year, in addition to the ones that we've had in the past. So this one is the pin oak called PacificBrilliance. The photo shows the fall color on it, so it actually gets kind of an orangey red fall color. Otherwise, in summer, it will have the green foliage. The one thing to note is this one is supposed to be a little bit more tolerant of the clay soils that we have, in that it won't get quite as chlorotic as other pin oaks tend to get around here, but it still may suffer a little bit. So you'll get that the yellow and the green on the leaf instead of just a straight green leaf if you have the really heavy clay soils. This one is supposed to be a columnar, which I think is kind of funny. 50 to 60 feet tall and 25 feet wide. I personally don't count a 25-foot width as columnar, but I guess if you're 50 to 60 feet tall, that is kind of a columnar shape to it. This one, it should be noted, I can only get this one in spring. So if this is one that you're interested in, come and see us in April or May right away. I don't know that it'll be around anymore by June or July or August for that matter. All of our oaks that we have do get acorns because they haven't been able to breed the acorns out of oaks yet. So there are no varieties that don't get acorns as they age. Hardiness zone on this one is a zone 4. This is one of the columnar varieties that we'll be getting in. And I know we had some of this Regal Prince variety a couple years ago at, I believe, the Fitchburg location. I'm getting more of them in this year just because city lots are smaller and these columnar trees tend to fit better in with those smaller city lots. This one is actually not going to be coming in until June. So early to mid-June is when we'll see this one pop up in the nursery yard. 50 feet tall, and again, with the columnar, it's 20 to 25 feet wide, but still, if you're a 50-foot tall tree, then 20 feet definitely is a lot more narrow than your height. Full sun is best for this particular oak. It's actually a hybrid oak between the swamp white oak and the English oak. So I've had a lot of people asking for English oaks, and hybrid oaks are really the only thing that I can find from our suppliers that's close to just a straight English oak. Again, this one will get the acorns, and it actually is a fairly fast growing tree. I know a lot of oak trees get the bad rap of being a very slow growing tree, but the Regal Prince is a fast growing tree, so it'll fill in pretty quickly for you. And this one is also hardy to a zone 4. Crimson Spire is the other columnar oak that we will be getting in this year. Another hybrid between the English oak and this time just the straight white oak, not the swamp white oak. It'll also be arriving right around early to mid-June with the Regal Prince. 40 to 45 feet tall, so it's a little bit shorter than the other columnar types, and this one is a 15 feet wide instead of that 20 or 25 feet wide. Full sun for this one is best, especially if you want that orangey red fall color on it like you see in the right hand photo. Again, it'll get acorns just because it's an oak tree, and this one also is a fast growing oak. The English oak and white oak hybridization actually allows it to be a fairly fast growing tree. And again, it is hardy to zone 4. And then we have one sort of new maple tree this year. We actually had this one at the end of the year last year, and we're getting it in again this spring. Typically, we right now are supposed to be getting it in at the end of April, if not definitely by Mother's Day. This one is called State Street, and it's very tolerant to urban conditions like pollution and the salt that you'll see along the roadways. Also tolerant of all soil types. The only thing it doesn't really prefer is to have really wet feet. So just make sure it has a fairly decent amount of drainage between waterings. The growth rate on this one is a moderate growth rate, so it's actually going to be slower than those two columnar oak trees that I was just talking to you about, but it still puts on a fair amount of growth every year. And this one has what starts out as a pyramidal growth habit, and then it becomes more of an oval shaped, like the sugar maples that you see quite a bit. And then you can see in the left hand photo, the fall color on it is a golden yellow color. Mature size on this one is about 40 to 50 feet tall and approximately 40 feet wide. So you need to give it a fair amount of space. But there are other maples out there that are larger. So this is on the smaller end of the shade trees in terms of size. And then this one is also listed as a zone 4. So that's all I have for you for the new shade trees that we're getting in this year. If you're interested in seeing what we have to offer this year, you can go to our website at www.kandagreenhouse.com. We have all of our plant lists up on the website. You can peruse those lists, see if there's anything that you really want. If you have any questions for us, feel free to email us at knagreenhouse@gmail.com, or you can call us at either of those two phone numbers, and someone will either be there to answer, or we'll be able to, if you just leave a message for us, we'll be able to return your call. And just as a note, we're planning on opening on Friday, April 16th this year. So until then, keep making your lists of plants that you want, and we hope to see you very soon in the spring.